Hello everyone, I am Akyogi and welcome to Indian Society class. So far in Indian society, we have discussed what is society, what are the characteristics and elements of society. We have discussed definition of society, why we made society. We have three kind of desires, we have three kind of needs, which are political, social and economical. To fulfill these desires, we have made society. We have discussed characteristic of Indian society. We have discussed family system and also how family evolved through matrimonial affinity, through consanguinity and adoption and emotional reciprocation. We have discussed that how nuclear family and joint family interchange with each other. A part of that, we have discussed that how community or society gets integrated and also through insecurity with other communities that communalism gets evolved. Communalism actually the political ideology that means this actually used for mobilize people so that for the benefit like political benefit, economical benefits by the upper or elite class of people through mobilizing lower class peoples. Apart of that, we have discussed that how we can through secularization can handle communalism and how the secularism gets evolved in a society. We have seen in last classes that what is the concept of secularism, how it varies through country to country because of the different kind of culture, different kind of demography, different kind of historical background of the people. So far we have discussed all these things. A part of that, in family system, we have discussed that how family type of family or type of society gets changed or categorized through different kind of marriages. We have discussed that there are few types of marriages based on residence, based on authority, based on lineage. Like according to residence, there are patrilocal families, there are matrilocal families, neo-local families, or local families we have discussed. A part of that, we have discussed families or marriages based on authority in the house. Like we have patriarchal setup of family or marriages or matriarchy according to lineage. Like, lineage means that how descendants will get their surname or their identity. So patrilineage means that descendants will carry male's name, and matrilineal means that descendants will carry female surname or female identity. So so far we have discussed all these things. Now we are going to start the new chapter, which is women and women related issues. In this chapter particularly, we will focus that what is the situation of women in our society and what kind of problems they face and what are the possible solutions to resolve feminine problems. So to start with, we need to discuss that what is the difference between sex and gender. So do you have any idea about that what is sex and what is gender? ये कॉन्सेप्ट भी मैंने क्लास में डिस्कस किया हुआ है व्हेन वी वर डिस्कसिंग ट्रांसजेंडर मैरिज और ट्रांसजेंडर राइट द वर्ड सेक्स you can memorize like this that actually the word sex, because we always have confusion. Even we are right now studying, but later on 1 month or 2 month or 6 months later even we will get confused. Okay, so to memorize this, I can give you that kind of example. Like when we use word sex, actually it is we also we use this word also as a activity that we have done sex. So that means the activity, that particular activity is biological. So actually the sex term is biological. It is associated with genitals or reproductive organs. So this word actually associated with reproductive organs. Okay, that's why when we intimate with someone or do sexual activity, we use the word sex. So like that you can memorize this word, that or there will be no confusion that it is actually the biological word. Okay, associated with reproductive organs. You can write today on blank page. You will be provided notes as soon as possible. And gender, actually the roles or characteristic or behavior. ओके, जेंडर रोल्स, जेंडर कैरेक्टरिस्टिक, जेंडर बिहेवियर। हम लोग बहुत बार देखते हैं कि कई सारे जो फीमेल हैं वो मेल की या तो कॉपी कर रही होती हैं या फिर मेल के जैसे अपना हेयर स्टाइल बना लिया, कभी उनकी क्लॉथिंग वैसे कर ली, कभी कभार उनको बोला भी जाता है, उनको टॉम बॉय टाइप बोला जाता है कि दैट यू आर नॉट लुकिंग फेमिनाइन, यू आर लुकिंग लाइक ए बॉय, और यू आर समटाइम्स अगर वो कुछ पर्टिकुलर बिहेवियर में ऐसा चेंजेस ला रही होती हैं, चाहे वो अपने राइट्स के लिए ही आवाज उठा रही होती हैं, तो उनको बोला जाता है कि नो यू आर नॉट एक्टिंग लाइक ए फीमेल, you are acting like a male. So that kind of thing, that action, all these things associated with gender. And when we were discussing transgender, I have told that sex and gender, it is not necessary that someone who is biological male doesn't mean that he will actually associated or do the gender, that male gender kind of activities or behavior. It can be possible that someone who is male sexually can act like other female or any other thing and other person, and not according to his sex, his or her sex. So when they or both these things do not match with each other, okay, then we call them, what we call them, I have told, I have told na, transgender. I have also explained the word transgender, that there is a transition from sex to gender. That means transgender. Okay, like someone who transferred his sex to gender. Like if someone is male and but his sex got transferred when it comes to gender, then that means male who is acting like a female. That is transgender. No, I have discussed in detail this thing. So we are trying to focus on woman. Woman means who is having female genital and also characteristic of female gender. So that means that personality of female like feminine and not masculine, because masculinity is actually attached with or characteristic of male. And from this thing, actually all masculinity is associated with male. Okay, female gender or sex actually categorized like feminine. Okay, there are feminine roles. Okay, feminine actually, that is actually behavior or role, that is gender. Okay, and the masculinity actually characteristic of male. Masculinity means you have muscle mass, you have good physique, or strength, muscular strength. No, no, no. This is different, and I'm saying that I'm explained that na muscular strength, muscle strength, muscle strength जो physical strength होती है ना, feminine they are actually soft, cannot lift larger weight. They can lift larger weight. Okay, bigger weight. They can fight if there is a fight of female and man physically. then male will win, the male will dominate female. And from that it comes out to be the problems come out with fighting with each other. That is domestic violence. Okay. So all these things we will discuss. So right now, just we are identifying the what are the male characteristics, what are the female characteristics. Hmm. मस्कुलिनिटी का मस्कुलिनिटी एक तरीके का कैरेक्टरिस्टिक है. मस्कुलिनिटी मीन्स पर्सन हु इज हैविंग मसल पावर. So in day to day life, whom you seen that having muscle power more? Boys having na. So these actually the masculinity is the characteristic of male, not female. That is physical characteristic. Female are more, even that if we go through the biological properties of male and female, if we analyze that, then boys are actually having more tough body, more masculinist body. If we go for female, then female have soft body. Okay, they have less masculinity. They are weak in muscular power. Okay, they are even female who is having more masculinity are actually a very rare thing, and also considered like separated from female. Okay, it is surprising for the society if a female having muscularity, like female bodybuilders, they've been noticed like aliens. Okay, they are not actually acceptable in society. So it is actually the characteristic. These characteristic actually not natural. It is made by the society. Like gender. We are discussing gender. Gender is not something natural. It may be natural, but it is actually the societal norm. Sex is natural because someone has biology, so it is obviously natural. We cannot alter it. Sex is natural, biological term hai ye. Okay, so it is natural. It can be changed, but it is not like a behavioral pattern. It is behavior. Gender is behavior. So behavior, it is actually societal norm. That male should do that, female should do that. It is societal norm. And how societal norms form? Through constant evolution or constant changes or and a continuity with change historically. Okay, नेचुरल नहीं है, ये सोसाइटी ने बनाया हुआ है. ओके, कि फीमेल को ऐसा करना चाहिए, ऐसे रहना चाहिए, मेल को ऐसे रहना चाहिए. ठीक है, ये एक्चुअली जो जेंडर है ना वो नेचुरल, और ऐसा मत कह देना कि जेंडर नेचुरल नहीं है. यह है कि नेचुरल प्लस सोसाइटिकल नॉर्म. ठीक है, दोनों का मिक्सचर है ये. क्योंकि आपका जो बिहेवियर है वो भी तो आपकी एक्चुअली बायोलॉजी से ही आता है ना. लाइक जो अगर पर्टिकुलरली हार्मोन्स है, मेल में टेस्टोस्टेरोन है, फीमेल में एस्ट्रोजन है, बिकॉज ऑफ दीज हार्मोन्स, these hormones also actually exhibiting effect on your character, your behavior also na. From where male gets masculinity? Testosterone hormone. Okay, so hormones play important role to just improve, just to make your personality. Okay, so and hormones are biological. Okay, so gender is actually composition of both natural and societal norms. There is natural factor also. It is not completely societal norm. It is not completely natural. This is not the case. Have you got it? Okay. So because there is a different gender, what is the problem then? If we are saying that gender actually also associated with biology, hormones and all, so what is the problem? That why women is suffering in our society? Why there is inequality? Why women got disrespected? Why they are not having proper fundamental rights? So what is the problem? Why we have the gender disparity? Because obviously gender have their own role, and it is also natural. We cannot say that gender is unnatural. That is natural also, but along with society. Then what is the issue? Issue is that, okay, that gender is natural, and there is some gap between male and female in capacity, gap in capacity of male and female. But the problem is society makes it wider or broader, make it more broader, this gap. It is not that female are very weak and men are very strong. This is not the case. Okay, we can say that okay, male has more muscularity, female has less muscularity. But actually, when we come to intellectuality, intellectuality, then there is no evidence that female are less intelligent than men. But society actually predict or make stereotype or make stereotype. I have discussed this term many times. Okay, so society actually make stereotype like female are actually may be lacking in masculinity, but that doesn't mean that female will also lack in intellectuality. That is not the case. But society make that in stereotype, and that is the issue. That stereotype, that is the issue, and because of that, female lack opportunities, lack opportunity to grow. Okay, and there different kind of discrimination women face in society, and the in result will be that exploitation of women. So all these things has been written here, that there are personality attributes of gender, there are different gender roles, and that is actually the ground of social inequality, that is the ground of exploitation, that is the ground of exploitation, social inequality, and discrimination. In society class, you may notice that in all these things, maybe the caste system or that family system or communal system, we have noticed that actually people are trying to exploit other people, and also trying to discriminate, because we have seen that all these things, the common factor was the discrimination. When one community discriminate with other community, we called it communalism. When one caste dominating other caste, we have said that it is caste system. Okay, and when male is dominating in marital relations, men dominating women, we have called it that is marriage system. So actually the whole system are trying to exploit other. But in start we have discussed that why did we form society? Because individual was incapable to fulfill its needs, and we have discussed there are three types of need: political, economical, and social. So we form society to support each other, but when we see that in a practice, actually society only, rather than supporting individual, started exploiting individual, and that is the whole idea about Indian society to study in UPSC. Okay, so as I said that gender actually the norms allocated by the society to female or male, and it is actually when inequality come, what we ignore: meritocracy. Do you know what is the meaning of meritocracy? Meritocracy means that someone will get promoted, will get support, will be will be recognized based on its merit, its talent. Merit means talent, capacity. So meritocracy means that you are getting some kind of power or recognition through your actions, your capacity, and not just by your identity. or would say fake identity. We have discussed in class that what is the difference between identity and personality. We can because but it was another course in NCRT course we have discussed. So in Indian society we can revise that. There are actually UPSC exam itself that you will get promoted or you will get power through your merit or your talent, that how much you will perform in exam. If you perform good in exam, nobody will ask that you are female or male or what caste or religion. You will get promoted. You will get the power. So that is actually meritocracy only. So we need to just repeat that particular concept, that what is the difference between personality and identity. What is the basic difference? Personality and identity. The basic difference that it is completely real. It can be real or imaginary or fake. फेक लिख देते हैं. Okay, it can be real and unreal, both. It is completely real. Personality is real. Like you can make fake ID card. ID card मतलब आइडेंटिटी कार्ड ही होता है ना. फेक आईडी कार्ड बना सकते हैं. इसे आप याद मेमोराइज कर सकते हो. It is, you can make fake identity. You cannot make fake personality card because there is no such thing. Personality need not to have card to recognize, but identity, to recognize identity you need to have some kind of evidence or some kind of authentication. Yes, you need to write that. Personality is real. Need not to have authentication or certification. Authentication, no certification required. But in identity, there is certification. That means the identity is something that you are seen in society. How you seen in society, that is identity. Personality, that how you see yourself or how you identify yourself. Maybe some person is talented. Someone thinks that I'm very much talented, but society is not thinking like that. It can be possible, and in such case, there will be unemployment or there will be no unrecognition. That people will not recognize your talent. If they recognize your talent and give you priority or give you power, that means society will executing meritocracy. But if society doesn't recognize your talent, your potential, your personality, then definitely you will not get chance to grow. You will not get equal opportunity. So can you link all these things with each other? Okay, and a part of that, personality is the characteristics or behavior of someone. Identity also has that particular behavior and also recognize that that is the real part of the identity. But it also include the narratives and propaganda or stereotype. Identity also reflect or false. There can be the fake or false identity. Okay, so is it clear? So we want that actually the best society is which who recognize someone's identity based on personality. If there is both these things coincide, that is a perfect society. But we haven't seen practically that society perceive someone differently and based on some kind of identity and not according to personality. Okay, identity is also from birth, like ascribed status, but it is actually achieved status. It is solely depend on your action or behavior, that how you act in the society or behave in society. It is personality, but identity can be ascribed by birth. Also, you get some kind of identity like surname, caste, religion. So identity possesses both real and fake or false characteristics, but personality is completely real. Hmm? बाई बर्थ मिलती है वो आइडेंटिटी है. अचीव्ड क्या है इसमें? आपने बर्थ लेके क्या अचीव किया है? इवन योर बर्थ इज नॉट एक्चुअली अचीव्ड, इट इज मेरे जस्ट कॉन्सिडेंस that you got birth at somewhere and in certain family. It is not achieved. You haven't decided that okay, I'm going to take birth in this particular family, or have you decided that? So ascribed means that it actually given by birth. In India, by birth also you get citizenship. That political identity also get through identity only. Yeah, get through birth only. Okay, personality is something that achieved, like if someone who is well to do economically or politically and applying for the citizenship, so then he or she will getting citizenship. Okay, you can also, so in India there are both parameters or both procedures that you can get citizenship by birth, and also you can get citizenship achieve. You can achieve, you will uh, uh, study this particular thing in polity class in detail. Okay, so all these things are actually differentiating personality from identity. Okay, I hope there will be no confusion in future. Okay, so even also we can associate these things, like that identity by birth, that means that it is actually associated with sex, but personality, it is more associated with gender. That your sexual identity actually by birth, but what behavior you are executing in a society, that decides your gender. Okay, so you can associate these things also. What were your question? Narratives, that it in identity include narratives matlab false things. Okay, like someone claim to be, that some people can criticize someone, okay, and make his or her certain identity. They can propagate false narrative, like politicians make false narrative for with each other. Like some politician can be claimed that मौत का सौदागर can be claimed, and that claim actually identity. Sometimes you can disregard or diminish someone's identity, someone's respect. Okay, someone's, you can degrade someone's image through narratives. So all these things are associated with identity. Okay, हम कहते हैं ना कि आपका सब कुछ कुछ कर सकता है, लेकिन जो आपकी जो असली आपका पोटेंशियल है, आपका टैलेंट है, आपका नॉलेज है, वो आपको आपसे कोई नहीं छीन सकता. ओके, नॉलेज इवन द पार्ट ऑफ पर्सनैलिटी. Okay, when it got recognized by the society, it can be formed, take part in identity also. Okay, like there are so many noble people who got uh, awarded, who got respected, so many people. Okay, but they, when they were not awarded, that time also they were great people. It is not that after award they become good people or great people. No, they were great people earlier, but they were not recognized by the society through award. When society giving you award, that means actually society recognizing your potential. Okay, so actually greatness is the part of our personality. Greatness is part of your personality. But when society identify or recognize your personality, then society give you awards or benefits, whatever it takes. Okay, all these things clear. So let's come to gender roles. So I have told you that it is actually the behavioral pattern that how society allocating or recognizing or expecting from certain gender. So according to WHO, define gender role like a social construct. Social construct means constructed by society. Social constructs may roles like behaviors, activities, and attributes. Okay, I have told that attributes or characteristics. Okay, behavior, activities, appropriate, consider appropriate for man and woman or appropriate for certain sex. So for certain sex, there are allocation of role and that particular role actually gender according to and that particular thing made by the society. Is it clear? So let's see that how this particular differentiation leads to discrimination. Like if we discuss women's position in different perspective, like economical perspective or in economical sphere, then how female are getting treated and how male getting treated. We have to just differentiate between these two. Okay, so women, so there are some phenomena which we need to discuss that female actually considered weak from men. Okay, that means the position of female with respect to men will be greater or lesser or inferior. So that is the actually inferior because of discrimination. Okay, so there are some phenomena which are actually defining particular type of discrimination, like velvet, ghetto, or pink polarization of job. You may have heard or seen that females are actually get associated with certain kind of jobs only. Okay, male can do whatever he want, but when it comes to female, so there are some specific areas in which female can do work. Apart of that, also female prefer to do particular work. Why they prefer to do certain work and not other work type of work? Based on whatever we have discussed. Hmm. No, because they prefer a certain work according to their conditioning. That how society expecting from them, how family their family allowing what kind of work they should do, or that society expecting that what kind of work should do and what kind of work they should not do. So there actually work also the first factor is that societal expectation. According to that, female choose their career and whatever they want to do to earn livelihood. Apart of that, there is also imposter syndrome. Okay, you can write that even it is not mentioned in the notes. Imposter syndrome. If I define that in one word, then this is actually oh it is two word actually underconfident. Imposter syndrome means underconfidence. Means you are actually perceiving yourself lesser than what you really are. That is imposter syndrome. That you okay? Just write down. Imposter syndrome is a mental condition of someone in which person consider itself inferior or lesser than reality. Okay, it is the condition of underconfidence. Okay, why someone will consider inferior or underconfident? Why? Hmm? Hmm. Because comparing to someone, that can be the reason. Comparing with superior one. ओके, आप अंडर कॉन्फिडेंट तब होते हो ना जब किसी सुपीरियर से कंपेयर करते हो. लेसर कंपेयर से करोगे तो ना इंफीरियर फील हो गए. एंड आल्सो यू एक्सपेक्ट मोर फ्रॉम योर सेल्फ. दैट मीन्स परफेक्शन. एक्चुअली यू वांट टू डू परफेक्ट. योर एक्सपेक्टेशंस आर मोर फ्रॉम यू. You need to write that also. Na? I'm writing something that you also write. Na? Expectation. Just so like if we take example of UPSC aspirants, if they didn't, they will not get selected. Okay, so they will feel like they are worth nothing. But this is not the case. Actually, they are maybe more capable, more potent, more talented. It is not that only one exam will decide that who you are. This is not the case. First thing. Second thing, if you are not getting selected in certain exam or anything, that means actually that you are not fit for that particular format of that exam. This is the only meaning. It is not that you are less intellectual or less knowledgeable. This is not the case. Okay, and it is also depends on time. That if certain times you are not able to crack that exam, that doesn't mean that you are incapable to crack that exam. This is also that's why we have seen that even if we take example of UPSC aspirant only, then there are people who are actually got selected or got cracked even prelims in fifth attempt. So people, so if and first time they cracked prelims and also made rank in UPSC. Okay, so they got rank, they got selected in fifth attempt. And if we observe or analyze that till fourth attempt, can we say that they were incapable of cracking that particular UPSC exam? No, but it is also time dependent. So you cannot say or you cannot identify someone's potential just because of a certain exam that someone is not cracking that particular exam at certain point of time. So this is not the case. So that is actually imposter syndrome. Like you through failures, you are you are perceiving yourself lesser. So that it is, and it leads to depression, because depression is what? Depression is that you are considering yourself lesser. Shall we go further? What are you doing? So why I have explained this term? Because it is seen that generally female has that kind of mentality that they consider themselves less because of the societal or social conditioning. Because society, it is a societal norm that female are incapable of doing things, and certain period of time or at certain point of time, female actually accept that yes, we are incapable of doing something. बिकॉज अरे सारे लोग ही आपको बोलते रहेंगे कि यू आर इनकेपेबल, यू आर इनकेपेबल, तो फिर किसी ना किसी पीरियड ऑफ टाइम, पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम तो आप लोग फिर ब्रेक हो जाओगे ना. सो फीमेल भी इम्पोस्टर सिंड्रोम का एक शिकार होती है बिकॉज ऑफ द सोसाइटल कंडीशनिंग. बट द रियल रीजन बिहाइंड दैट वाज एक्चुअली लेस लैक ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटी. आपको अपॉर्चुनिटी पूरा मिला नहीं और आपने आपसे एक्सपेक्टेशन कर ली गई, तो आप फेल ही हो गए ना. और जब फेल हो गए तो फिर इम्पोस्टर सिंड्रोम में जाओगे ना. फिर आप सोचोगे कि हाँ सोसाइटी सही है, हम तो इनकेपेबल है ही हैं, हम तो डिजर्व करते ही नहीं थे वो. इट कैन बी परफेक्टली implemented in that UPSC journey also. Okay, so if someone is not cracking UPSC, that doesn't mean that he or she is incapable of cracking that. That simply mean that you are not at certain point of time you are not fit for that particular format of the exam. Okay, so you have written that imposter syndrome. The second thing is velvet ghetto or pink polarization of jobs. That means society society expecting certain kind of work female should do. Certain kind of work, that is pink polarization of job, like nursing, take caring of children, cooking, teaching, air hostess, reception, all these things. But in modern society and or in modern time we have seen that actually there are some changes going on, and particularly these jobs has certain characteristics like they are less paying or sometimes even not recognizable, not recognized, recognized as prominent jobs, prominent or important. That is called pink polarization of the job or velvet ghetto. So, bas, ghetto means basti. And, हाँ, हम्म, रिकॉग्नाइज मतलब इम्पोर्टेंट, मैं बोला ना रिकॉग्नाइज, इम्पोर्टेंटली रिकॉग्नाइज, रिकॉग्नाइज प्रोमिनेंट जॉब, प्रोमिनेंट जॉब, इंपॉर्टेंट जॉब नहीं लग रही है ये, कि वो ये ना कोई बहुत ज्यादा रेस्पेक्ट नहीं आ रही है इसके लिए. बिकॉज इवन टीचिंग भी वो कहाँ कर रही होती हैं, छोटे बच्चों को कर रही होती हैं. इट इज नॉट समथिंग दैट यू आर हैविंग, you become professor in certain university or something. You are just teaching children, small age children. तो उनको तो ये बोला जाता है कि हाँ वो टीचिंग क्या कर रही है, वो तो खेल रही है बच्चों के साथ ना. ब्यूटी पार्लर और ये सारी चीजें आ जाएंगी इसमें. ठीक है, सम एग्जांपल्स आर गिवन हियर, दैट ब्यूटी इंडस्ट्री, एयर होस्टेस, टीचिंग, नर्सिंग, चाइल्ड केयर, all these things are actually less paying jobs. So because they are less paying, that means it will lead to partial poverty or lesser economic condition, and that lesser economic condition, na, bad economic condition, bad economic condition, and that is velvet ghetto. Velvet ghetto means that certain kind of jobs which are having less payment. Okay, बस्ती किसकी होती है, पुअर लोगों की तो होती है, पॉवर्टी. क्लियर है, आगे चले. So what is the problem with this? If we think constitutionally, okay, this is going on in our society. We can see through our naked eyes. That is the problem, that women got trapped in certain kind of role, certain kind of job description, certain kind of industries only, and because of that particular trap, they are facing inequality, they are facing exploitation, they are facing poverty. So what is the problem? This is the problem. But if we see this particular thing constitutionally, or that because constitution the ultimate authority which is governing our country, so we need to discuss that according to constitution, is it right or wrong? Can we ignore it, or can, or should we try to make changes in some society through constitution, through laws, or through that particular government machinery? Okay, करने चाहिए ना. Definitely rights are being exploited. Okay, so there are some problem of velvet ghetto or pink colorization, like leads to less pay and poverty. Okay, apart of that, they are not able to get promoted or get uplifted in organization, because actually particularly आप particular वर्क कर रहे हो, लाइक एयर होस्टेस. अब एयर होस्टेस प्रमोट होकर क्या बन जाएगी? एयर होस्टेस ही रहेगी, वो क्या बन जाएगी? कुछ नहीं बनेगी. ओके, लाइक या फिर जो ब्यूटी इंडस्ट्री है, ब्यूटी प्रोडक्ट्स है, आप है जो फेशियल करके किसी का, आपने 10 साल तक फेशियल करते रहो, आप प्रमोट होकर क्या बन जाओगे? कुछ ही नहीं बनोगे. ओके, सो देर इज नो अपॉर्चुनिटी टू गेट प्रमोटेड और इनकम बढ़ सकती है, पर कितनी बढ़ जाएगी? एक पर्टिकुलर जॉब में जो कि वेल स्ट्रक्चर्ड है, लेस पेइंग जॉब है, तो उसमें क्या आपका क्या होने वाला है फ्यूचर? आपकी जो सैलरी भी बढ़ेगी तो ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा ये होगा कि इन्फ्लेशन के कंसिडरेशन में बढ़ जाएगी, उससे ज़्यादा क्या हो जाएगा? When we speak about promotion, there are two types of promotion. First is monetary. Monetary means salary wise, and second is job role. तो प्रमोशन अगर आपका थोड़ा बहुत मॉनेटरी है, जो इन्फ्लेशन के अकॉर्डिंग हो भी गया, तो जॉब रोल में तो कुछ नहीं होने वाला ना. जॉब रोल तो वो वही रहने वाला है, तो ये तो फिर प्रमोशन हुआ ही नहीं ना. सो यही कह रहा है कि जो ये पर्टिकुलर जो पिंक कॉलराइजेशन है, उसकी वजह से क्या होता है ना, कि जो फीमेल है उनका जो जॉब रोल है वो बढ़ ही नहीं पाता है. दे आर नॉट गेट अपलिफ्टेड in their particular job. So the condition of not getting opportunity to evolve in certain profession, that particular thing is called ceiling. Ceiling means, अगर हम लोग इसका ceiling का हिंदी देखें तो छत. That means like we are right now sitting in this particular classroom. So there is ceiling, so we cannot go upward because there is ceiling. So that is the meaning actually, that through that particular word got found. Glass ceiling. Glass ceiling means that female are not getting opportunity to uplift. There are some invisible barrier, and this actually we are referring this barrier as a ceiling. Get uplift or promoted. That is called glass ceiling. Promoted like to come in decision making roles. If you notice that pink collar jobs, actually they are actually labor jobs, or that these are unskilled work. They are not, but decision making is something that it is upper job, that administrative job. So female are not coming in boardroom or not becoming CEO, chief executive officer. They are not becoming CEO. वो क्या करता है? That, और या boardroom में क्या करते हैं? That you are actually making decisions for certain organization. So uplifting का मतलब हो गया that becoming or get involved in decision making वर्क। अपलिफ्ट होने का मतलब क्या है? डिसीजन मेकिंग में ही तो जाना। सबसे जो सुपीरियर होता है वो तो यही होता है, डिसीजन मेकिंग। जो डिसीजन मेकिंग करेगा वही डायरेक्टर होता है। सो फीमेल्स आर एक्चुअली जस्ट एसोसिएटेड विद लेबर जॉब। लेबर कर रहे हैं वो, अनस्किल्ड भी हो सकता है ज़्यादा मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम, बट दे आर नॉट बीइंग इन्वॉल्वड इन डिसीजन मेकिंग वर्क। ये नहीं हो रहा है। ओके, देयर इज अनदर फिनोमेना ऑफ ग्लास एस्केलेटर। जो वर्क इवन पर्टिकुलरली अगर कोई इंडस्ट्री ग्रो कर भी लेती है, जैसे ब्यूटी प्रोडक्ट, ब्यूटी इंडस्ट्री। ओके, यू आर लाइक मेकिंग चेन्स ऑफ सलून। ओके, और जस्ट हैविंग ब्यूटी प्रोडक्ट फैक्ट्री, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग ब्यूटी प्रोडक्ट। इज दैट मैन्युफैक्चरिंग beauty products? This is also the part of beauty industry. So that kind of business girls can do, but do they really do? No. Okay, what happens? Actually, that beauty industry business actually owned by male. And we were thinking that beauty industry actually the female dominating, or the female should do work in but that particular industry, but that is not the case. Okay, so actually just women working in beauty industry like a labor and not the boss, and male actually that particular industry dominated by the female, but not in administration or decision making, but only for in labor participation. That female are only working in that particular industry. It is not on something that they are owning that particular organization. On नहीं कर रहे हैं वो. Or even that particular management, upper management, they are unable to enter or having some barriers to enter into upper management or administration because of the glass ceiling, invisible barriers. Okay, but what is the case? Actually, that is the male who is promoted in upper management or administration or doing decision making job. That particular phenomena, that in female dominating industry, male are actually getting promoted and getting more opportunities rather than female. That particular phenomena called glass escalator. Okay, I can explain that particular word also. Escalator means what? That वो escalator होता है ना, lift, which bring you upper position. Okay, that is escalator. So glass escalator is like that male is standing on that escalator and getting uplifted over the female. So these are the terminologies associated with economical conditioning of women. Okay, so far we have seen three terms: imposter syndrome, glass ceiling, and glass escalator. Is there any confusion or any difficulty to understand? Shall we go further? Shall we go further? So there are some kind of surveys and that factual data that actually defining the position of women in our society, that what kind of economic position or what kind of economic disabilities women are facing. Okay, it is like, so one is Oxfam report. In particular report, its name is profiting from pain. So it is actually COVID times report, in which actually that particular report claiming that in after COVID and in COVID time, that gender gap actually increased more. What is the gender gap? Gender pay gap. I have already told that there is difference between male and females working, and also payment or getting remunerations. They both are they getting different remunerations. So that particular gap between these two is gender gap. Okay. So that gender pay gap is widened. Okay. That particular gender gap widened. that the wages distributed to male and female having large gap. Male are receiving very much rather than female are receiving very lesser wages. हाँ, गैप तो जो भी गैप होगा वो जेंडर गैप ही बोलेंगे, बट एक्चुअली जेंडर गैप term is used when there is some discrimination. It is not based on meritocracy. Gender gap is actually the negative term. Okay, so even female are getting more, so they are not getting more because of that. There is the industry discriminating male. It is they are getting more because of their talent. So there is the Global Wage Report 2021 International Labour Organization. This particular labor organization actually secures the rights of labor and also the working conditions, or good working condition of labor. So it also make survey and make global wage report. In particular wage report, it is said that in COVID-19 crisis, female female wages become much lesser than male wages. Okay, so in India, even the gender wage gap was 34%. 34% means for same work, male was if a male was getting paid 100, then female were paying only कितना हो गया 67%, 67 only, 66, 66 only. In India, if we consider hourly wages, then women are paid most unequal. On average, women are paid 34% less than men. Okay. So according to that particular global gender report or index, okay, we have seen ILO report. We have seen ILO report, global wage report, and there is another report, global gender gap index, which is released by World Economic Forum. Okay, so that particular agency also work for that identify the economic problems and also come up with the economic solutions in the world. So that particular organization also publish global gender gap index, and that particular index they mention that in which country women are facing more discrimination, and that particular thing, if we notice that India actually ranked 135 out of 146, so that ranking is very much worse than other countries. Even our neighboring countries, they are who are not that much economically uplifted or grown. Their GDP is even lesser than India, but they are having good ranking rather than India. In particular, women gender gap report. That means that in India, actually, women are more suffering and more having more discrimination. Okay, like Nepal rank is also good, 96, Bangladesh 71. So even Bhutan having very less GDP compared to India, even have good rank rather than India. You are you familiar with the word GDP? Okay, there are that all amount of goods and services are produced in particular year in certain country. That is the GDP. So right now we are just looking for the what kind of economic situation women has and what are the reason behind that. So women are having economically weak position in our society. So if we go or analyze constitutionally, so it is bad because article associated with equality are actually not properly implemented. That's what it reflects because India are having 135 rank in global gender gap index report. So in particular index that worst ranking India has, that means actually India didn't implement that particular rights properly, that right to equality, where there is a equal opportunity articles 16, that was got violated. That particular right got violated. Okay, that Article 14, equality before law, or Article 15, equal protection against discrimination. So all these rights got violated. So what kind of governance we are doing if we are not even properly implementing the basic fundamental rights? Apart of that, there are directive principle 39D, where it says that equal payment for equal work for male and female. So even that is not the case, because female are getting 34% lesser than men for the same work. So that is also, it is something that patriarchy also not just reflecting on our society but also economic organizations. Patriarchy is being followed. As per European Commission of Women, there is 70.4% less than men. They would have lesser pensions after retirement, because even you are earning lesser, your salary is lesser. So definitely at the end you will end up with lesser pension in old age, because pension is what, that you are contributing continuously something from your salary, a certain amount that you are contributing. Okay, so if you are your salary is less, that means your contribution also less. So even then on old age you will face that less pension. So here is case study regarding this, that okay, another thing is that first we should do that thing. So there is actually directive principles. Okay, you might be familiar with this particular thing. What are the directive principles? Okay, part 4 of the constitution. uh, okay, just go with the word directive principle of state policy. What does it mean? It is not something that you have to memorize everything or mug up everything. That is not the case. You can also go through the word only, that what if that particular word is reflecting. The word is reflecting that there are some principle who are giving direction. That is the meaning of directive principle. That principles which are giving direction for what? To to make to make state policy. That is the meaning of directive principle of state policy. So there are principle. So actually, state policy, what we want from them? Actually, we are trying to make welfare state. Welfare state means the state which work for the betterment or welfare for the society, welfare of the society. So 39D actually the part of or article mentioned in part 4 only in directive principle. So I can give you certain kind of mnemonics so that you can memorize that particular article. So there is article 39, which actually give you six kind of principle, six principle to make welfare of society or to make welfare state. Okay, so there are article like 39A, 39B, 39C, 39D, and 39E. So we are actually concerned about, because I'm telling you these article, because these article actually will be referred when we will talk about women economic conditions, or there is unemployment problem, poverty, hunger. So these article will actually referred many times frequently. That's why I'm telling you that these articles. Okay, otherwise This is actually the part of politics, Indian polity. So there are six principles. So I have given you that particular mnemonics. You can memorize this particular mnemonics like you might have heard the word Hadippa. There is actually the word when Punjabi people celebrate, Sikh people celebrate, they actually Hadippa, they call that word Hadippa. So similarly, like in celebration they do that. So if we actually implement these particular principles, so we will also will celebrate because these principles actually make our lives better. Like similar word Hadippa, there is Ladippa. Okay, you can memorize like this. Okay, so there is the L for living wages, D for distribution, equal distribution of resources, equal distribution of resources, I for eliminate inequality और restricts concentration of wealth. जब concentration wealth होगा तभी तो ना inequality आती है. Inequality मतलब क्या? That some people are having more wealth and some people are actually having less wealth. So if concentration of wealth ही नहीं होने देंगे तो inequality आएगी नहीं. And there is 39D article that equal pay for equal work for men and women, pay for equal work. A for protection from forceful abuse, and this is for health, that providing proper infrastructure for health. So these are the under Article 936 principles what is welfare state should implement in the society. Okay, are you able to memorize that now? Yeah. Hmm. Providing living wages, providing or ensuring. It is not like it is like not forced labor that you are actually involving or making labor and you are not getting paid. There are forced labor or bounded labor. So it is actually providing that kind of protection that you should if you are giving some person or using some person as a labor, then you have to provide living wage, at least minimum wage you should provide. Inequality, that in Indian society you should restrict inequality, you should restrict or eliminate inequality. I have to, means actually I didn't write that particular thing because actually word to word I am writing the words, but I have told when I was writing I described that what does inequality means. But I can repeat that actually that we state should ensure that there should not be inequality in the society, or state should restrict concentration of wealth. Concentration of all that all resources are not owned by only few people, but actually they should get distributed. Uh, but for that particular thing, we have that 39B, that distribution, equal distribution of resources. The difference है. अगर आप इक्वल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन रिसोर्सेज करोगे, ठीक है, तब भी आपका कंसंट्रेशन ऑफ वेल्थ हो सकता है, बिकॉज द पीपल ऑलरेडी ओनिंग दैट वेल्थ, वो तो अभी भी ऑन कर ही रहे हैं ना. बट यू शुड आल्सो वर्क फॉर दैट, दैट पीपल शुड नॉट हैव more wealth than rather than required. Like there are people, person A and B. Okay, if A is having 100 wealth and B is having nothing, government will distribute something. Like suppose government will distribute 10, and according to Article 13B, 39B, government will distribute equally. Then 5 5. So there is 105 and this is 5. So क्या इक्वलिटी आ गई है? अब इक्वलिटी आ गई नहीं आई ना, अभी भी 100 का गैप चल रहा है. So to eliminate that particular inequality, what state should do that? Just reduce that person's wealth and give it to this, like reduce, like it can be 55, 55, 55. Government can do that. Tax or whatever, progressive tax, women can apply. Property tax, government can apply. Property tax, property tax, that is someone who is owning resources or property, then government will apply that property tax, so that certain part of his or her wealth will get reduced, and then that particular, and then subsidy they dega usko. Okay, property tax, income tax, even income tax is also progressive tax. Okay, 39 is ensure health in the society, ensure infrastructure provide करे government. That, yes, that you will actually, I'm just introducing, you will study these things in detail in Indian polity. Yes, yeah, definitely, I'm giving you that particular idea. Okay, that equal pay you already have, that is the protection from forceful abuse. Okay, providing security infrastructure. Actually, we are actually trying to say in under article 39, that state should ensure that these things or implement these things in the society. So we are actually directing state that you should do that. That is actually the purpose of having directive principle. Okay, so there are particularly these principles mentioned in under article 39. Okay, so directive principle, actually there is a there are articles from article 36 to 51. Okay, so in these all these articles, directive principles actually telling state or directing state to implement these particular things mentioned in part 4. Okay, so under article 39D we have equal pay for equal work, but in reality it is getting violated. And why it is getting violated? Why someone is, no, नहीं, ये तो सारा एक्चुअली जनरल कंडीशन चीजें हो गई, ठीक है, कॉज हो गए तो, बट दैट आल्सो इट इज नॉट, बिकॉज इट इज एक्चुअली नॉट एनफोर्सिबल under court of law, because these are actually directive principle, they are not guaranteed by the state. Like fundamental rights are guaranteed, part 3 fundamental rights are guaranteed, but directive principles are not guaranteed. You cannot go court for that particular thing to implement. In the case of violation of your fundamental rights, you can reach to court and you can file petition, but not in that particular thing, because directive principles are not enforceable. Okay, so actually the legal cause I'm telling, and the social cause is definitely whatever you said. These are the social cause, that lack of awareness, okay, lack of opportunities, all these things. So directive principle, DPSPs are not enforceable. So in the light of that particular article, or that in the light of particular concept that women should get equal payment what male are getting. So in New Zealand there is a case where New Zealand tried to apply that particular concept or that particular doctrine, that definitely female should have equal right or equal payment. So they applied in, firstly in sports, in sport women cricket, that what they did, that actually they made equal salary for male cricketer as well as female cricketer. If we notice in India, there is actually huge gap between the salaries of male sportsmen or female sportsmen. Like in India, if we observe, then men are getting, if a grade A plus, men are getting 7 crore per annum. But if we consider that particular counterpart with woman counterpart, then grade A, they are only getting 50 lakhs. Grade, so there is huge gap. Definitely there is huge gap. Grade B there is 30 lakh, C 10 lakh. Even that male who are associated with grade C are getting 1 crore, and even that woman who has grade A, even half of that particular grade C. Okay, so that kind of discrimination is going on. Okay, although there is a reason, or they give that particular excuse that productivity of them is lesser. Actually, people are more concerned about that male sport rather than women sport. They are watching more male sport. Okay, so the actually the earning or the revenue generated by the particular event or particular match or particular activity, sports activity, is less, far lesser as compared to the male counterpart. Okay, and they actually having an excuse that actually the male sports generating more revenue than female sports. वुमेन चाहे उतनी ही मेहनत कर रही है जितनी मेल कर रही है, लेकिन उनका जो प्रोडक्ट है वो इतना रेवेन्यू जनरेट नहीं कर रहा है जितना इनका कर रहा है। वो ये एक्चुअली एक्सक्यूज देते हैं, बट देर आर मैनी फैक्टर्स वाई दे आर जनरेटिंग लेस रेवेन्यू। दैट इज ऑल्सो द प्रॉब्लम विद patriarchal mindset ना। Why people are not going to watch female cricket? Why people are only concerned about the male cricket? So that is also the thing. A part of that, if we say performance wise, the female are actually not provided that particular opportunity to develop their skill. They didn't provided they didn't provide that particular training or that extensive training to make themselves better, to perform efficiently. So that is also the reason they are not provided proper infrastructure. They are not provided proper facilities to grow, to shine their skills, sharpen their skills. So that those are also the factor. Like New Zealand has provided. There is a case like okay, there is just case of PV Sandhu and Saina Nehwal. They provided facilities, so they perform well. Yeah, okay, yeah. That Saina Nehwal and PV Sandhu, they provided facilities, so definitely they perform well. So it is not something that women cannot perform. It is that you need to provide equal opportunity or proper infrastructure to perform. Okay, so you cannot just come up with the excuse that female work is not generating proper revenue. If you work on that, if you provide investment, you will provide proper facilities, so definitely women will also generate better revenue. Apart of it, we have discussed social conditioning. Because of the social conditioning, most of the females suffer from imposter syndrome. Actually, they not able to perform because of lack of confidence. Even they are assuming themselves inferior because of the societal conditioning. Can you can understand social conditioning na? That conditioning or the behavior pattern made by society, that is social conditioning। एक मतलब कंडीशन कर दिया है आपके ब्रेन को, आपकी थिंकिंग को ही कंडीशन कर दिया है। So women are not provided equal opportunity, lack of investment, and even historically patriarchal setup of society actually plays important role that women are devoid of particular opportunities and giving proper efficient performance. So what is the view of Supreme Court? We have seen views of Supreme Court important. We have seen in secularism chapter also. Okay, in casteism chapter also we have seen that Supreme Court plays important role for providing or molding societal norms which are ill practices or harmful practices. Supreme Court providing reformatory justice, upholding constitutional morality. So Supreme Court views are important. So in particular thing, what Supreme Court actually addressing that if we consider that particular case, Kishori Mohanlal Bakshi and Union of India case, where the equal of payment was the matter, that women should provide equal payment. But earlier, Supreme Court instance was that it is not capable to enforce this particular thing because it is actually the part of DPSP and DPSPs are not enforceable. They are not legally enforceable. So Supreme Court couldn't provide equal payment in that particular case. Okay, but later on they realized that okay, it is not abstract doctrine and can be provided. And seen in Article 14 and 16, you cannot just see that equal payment is mentioned only in 39D. It is actually also mentioned in Article 16 that provide equal opportunity. So an opportunity contains payment also, na? That opportunity contain payment also. So Supreme Court realized that it is not that equal payment is just mentioned in directive principle, but also it can be interpreted that that particular equal payment is also the part of Article 16 and 14. So and these particularly actually fundamental rights and they are enforceable. Okay. In again state of Madhya Pradesh and RT equal payment is not fundamental. Wasted in any employee, so it is a constitutional goal to be achieved by the government. That constitutional government goals are actually the same thing that directive principle of state policy. DPSPs are the actually the goal of state. Okay, so their point of view just frequently change, depends on the condition. Because actually what we have seen in last chapter of secularism, that we are actually not providing absolute justice. We are providing justice depends on the situation and case by case. Okay, we are providing principle justice. We are not following one particular principle blindly. Wherever there is requirement of certain kind of ideology, we adopt that. So it is not something that we are following certain rules, because our constitution, even it is not rigid constitution, it is flexible constitution. Wherever it requires to deliver better justice or reformatory justice in society, we adopt that particular kind of ideology. Okay, GCI index, we have discussed the term glass ceiling. What is glass ceiling? Let's revise. I have explained the word, just go with the word first. There is some certain kind of ceiling. Ceiling means what ceiling provide? Ceiling what ceiling work? Ceiling ceiling actually restrict you to move upwards. So that is glass ceiling. So it is not something that you have to mug up. Okay. So glass ceiling actually stall the progress of women, because it actually invisible barrier which restrict women progress, women's growth, women's promotion, or women's promotion to go in decision making role or boardroom in upper management, promoted in upper management. So that is actually the glass ceiling. So there is the glass ceiling index. So what this index is reflecting, actually that this index is reflecting that in different countries, what is the status of glass ceiling. That means which country more discriminatory towards women to not to provide the opportunity to grow, and which country is less and which country is more discriminatory. Okay, so we can see the ranking that Iceland is first ranking, Sweden second, and we are having that these particular countries are OECD countries or OECD average. OECD's full form is Organization of Economic Cooperation. Okay, Operation and Development. This is actually the organization of countries which are having better economy. Okay, most of the actually European countries form this particular group. Okay, so and the 29th, and there is, you can see that there is no ranking for India. Okay, so actually in India there is a worst condition or worst discrimination faced by women in economic or industry organization. Okay, like in Spain, the status of GCI index, like Spain Prime Minister first female majority got formed after 1975 when it comes to democracy. So even they got their prime minister as female. That they got actually female prime minister. Okay, so highlights of this particular index is that what actually that index showing The index shows that there is 16% less in the gender pay gap remains largely unchanged around 14% average. We have seen in India that is 34%, but average world actually 14%. ये वर्ल्ड का है, ये इंडिया का है. So India's that particular wage gap report. So 14% wage gap वर्ल्ड का है और 34% इंडिया का है. It is huge in India. Okay, more than even. And लेबर फोर्स पार्टिसिपेशन की बात करें हम. हाँ हाँ हाँ, तो एवरेज, एवरेज, हाँ उसका एवरेज. ओके, सो दे केप्ट एक्चुअली हायर देन 64%. यानी women are having less than men. The 64% actually in higher position. Male are in male dominating. Okay. Apart of that, the share of management is planted recently at only 32%. Like 32% female are actually, and rather rest, that 68% only paying, having less pay job and lesser salary and lesser that particular labor role only rather than management. So that particular report actually also claiming that. Okay, that is the management exam, GMAT business school entry. So even in that particular exam also that women's participation is being decreased. Apart of that, we need to understand the female labor participation. That what is the rate of labor participation? Do you know the terminology labor force? It is actually in economy you will study in detail, but I am just giving you the brief idea. Okay, the labor force. What is labor force? Whenever there is term, you should first analyze that particular word and try to generate wordly meaning so that there will be no confusion in future and you can memorize that particular terminology easily. हाँ नहीं, सिंपल इतना ज्यादा क्यों एनालाइज करो, इतना हैवी नहीं इसमें. इट इज जनरल जस्ट ए फोर्स exerted by labor, exerted by labor, that is labor force. Okay, what is, who is labor? That is the question. Who is labor in day to day life? Whom you call labor? We call labor who is actually seeking employment. Who is seeking employment, that is labor. Okay, he is getting employment or not getting employment, that is different thing. But who is seeking, that is labor force. So labor force actually contribute of employed worker or and unemployed worker. That is labor force. Okay, you just write the definition of labor force. You can say labor force and also workforce. Okay, labor force or workforce. Labor force or workforce. Okay, this is the group of people who seek for the employment or to earn a livelihood. Okay, so अब फॉर्मूला लिख लो, लेबर फोर्स और वर्क फोर्स इक्वल टू एम्प्लॉयड वर्कर्स plus unemployed workers. Both are actually seeking for job, seeking for employment. Definition लिख लो, unemployed labor. That's why they seeking for job. That's why they got employment. Na, seeking means they have desire. If someone is working, that means he want to work, na, that's why he is working. If someone don't want to work, then how he or she get employed? आप मैंने उनके पास में जॉब लेकर भी जाओगे कि हम आपको जॉब देंगे, वो आपको भगा देंगे, अरे हमें चाहिए ही नहीं जॉब। जिसको चाहिए वही तो एम्प्लॉय बनता है। ओके, and who is unemployed? Just write the definition of unemployed person. That person who is seeking job but not getting, that is unemployed. The person who is not working, that is not employed, unemployed. Okay, unemployed का जो definition लिख लो, person who is seeking job but not able to fetch any job or work, that person is actually unemployed. Non-working person is not unemployed, because non-working person also of two type. ओके, मैं एक्चुअली इसका एक फ्लो चार्ट बना के दे देता हूँ आपको, सो दैट आपको कंफ्यूजन नहीं होगा। देयर आर मेनी पीपल, जनरल पीपल, ओके, we can divide them in two categories. Who's seeking, actually, 1 second, who is not doing work? Non-working, working and non-working, working and non-working. Working people are actually employed people. Non-working are of two types. There are people who want or seek employment, and non or does not want or seek employment. Seek work or work and employment both are the same thing. Okay, and that particular people who are not working and also seeking, these people are actually unemployed. And people actually working, they are तो employed है ही है ना, भी वो तो तभी तो वर्क कर रहे हैं। ओके, तो आप इससे है ना आपको इवन इकोनॉमी में भी हेल्प मिलेगा, दैट यू विल नॉट गेट कंफ्यूज। ओके, सो व्हाट वी आर सेइंग दैट according to GCI, Global Ceiling Index, or that we have observed that actually female labor force participation is lesser, much lesser than male counterpart. So there is a more unemployment in female facing rather than male. Okay, so in Center Economic Monitoring Indian Economy, female labor force participation even declined. It is not getting increasing because of the economic shocks. Economic shocks are actually the events or activities through which economic condition of particular geography or particular country get decreased or destroyed. That is called economic shock. Okay, these are actually some technical terms. If you want to write, then you can write. Do you want to write that? Although it is self-explanatory also, you can understand through that. Like economical shocks like demonetization, where that government actually banned certain printed currency, that is demonetization. There is GST, which is actually the new tax that people couldn't understand properly at first. Maybe it is good or bad, we are not going for that particular debate, but actually that was new system and it took time to understand people that particular tax system. So that's why also that economy got reduced. COVID-19, that also the pandemic also hampered economy of the country. So all these things are actually contributed to give economy the shock. That is economic shock, and because of these economic shocks, what happened? That production get decreased, employment get decreased, and that particular employment got decreased, and female participation in labor force also get decreased because employment got decreased, so it affected the female participation the most. Okay, like if we go with the data, then we can find that there is a CMIE data that center of for monitoring Indian economy. Okay, that particular organization given the report that female labor force participation as low as 90.9.4% than earlier. Even rural area, it is also get reduced in by 9.92%. Okay, labor force participation rate. Labor force, I have already explained what is labor force. Participation means that how much female are participating in that particular labor force. What is the composition of labor force? How many males are there and how many females are there? Okay. However, according to periodic labor force survey 2021, the all India labor force participation actually increased by 2.3%. Okay, because now what had happened that have also considered urban areas. So urban area labor force participation increased, but in rural areas actually it got decreased. Okay, so this is actually the brief introduction of female economic condition in our society. We will discuss more about it, that how many things, how many problems female are facing in economic sphere, in political sphere, and in social sphere in our society. Okay, hope whatever we have discussed in this class understood all those things. Thank you so much.